Warning: the following content contains language that may be inappropriate for younger viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Welcome to the Let's Get Heavy podcast, your exclusive backstage pass to the realm of heavy music. Join us as we engage in conversations with amazing musicians across the metalverse. I'm your host, Stevie, and we're doing a little bit something different in today's episode as we are talking with Sam from Ritual Studios. So, let's get heavy. To the Let's Get Heavy podcast, where normally we like to highlight bands, but we're doing something different. We're talking to an actual Ritual Studios. You're the ones who are creating, conjuring up
a studio in human form.
You're the one that's conjuring up all these lovely sounds for us.
Yeah.
So, first of all, how did you get started into audio engineering?
Okay. So, I've always been interested in sort of production and stuff like that. And I played in bands and I obviously played guitar. That was like my instrument when I grew up. And then I kind of got this little, it was a Zoom, like a little portable thing. And there was like a tape one I had. And then I kind of just got into recording myself really. And then I recorded a band at school for about 100 quid, which at the time I thought was like fucking, oh my god, I've been paid to record bands, you know what I mean? And I mean, it was awful. Like the band was awful, and the recording of it, like I'd love to find it, but yeah, it was terrible. But then I kind of just got into it through that, and then having played in bands and stuff, I was recording my own band, and then I mean that's how it works. That's how the industry works really for people like me. It's kind of you do work and then another band hears it and goes, oh, who did that? Oh, our guitarist did it, kind of thing. And like, oh, all right, okay. And then they get in touch with you, and it's word of mouth, basically, isn't it? Like that's exactly what I've just described. But yeah, so like it was kind of from there, and then obviously being involved in like the UK kind of extreme metal scene. It's not I mean, everybody knows everybody, don't they? Do you know what I mean? It's not the biggest scene, so to speak. I mean, it's brilliant, but it's kind of like very niche, isn't it? But everybody knows everyone in that scene, so kind of getting to know people through that, and then just making contacts from there really. And then I went to uni to do audio production, which was a royal waste of time, to be honest. Like, do you know what? I really enjoyed going to uni. Like, being at university was brilliant in terms of like getting away. Like, I moved out of my house and sort of like got away for 3 years. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of what they taught you and stuff, it was awful, really. Like, you couldn't go and do audio engineering, and then I think you have to really want it to like then go and jump in and go and get like a commercial premises and all the other stuff that comes with it. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's not as easy as just like, oh, I know how to EQ a snare drum now. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, and even that, they didn't even teach you that at uni. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's a lot more like the science behind it and stuff. And I mean, I know, God, I don't want to. I'm only 5 minutes in and I'm whinging, but like, like I know people who've done like stuff to go and work in television and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
They leave and they're like, oh, it was rubbish. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it is what it is.
Like I say, it's mainly going to be learning like the theatrical side of things, isn't it?
Yeah, and like,
it doesn't really give you much of the practical side.
Exactly, yeah. And so, I mean, it's a bit like, you know, when you learn to drive, you're given all the tools and stuff, and you can learn all you want, but actually the only way to get better is to just get out and do it, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like get in the car and go and drive, and it's exactly the same with recording bands. It's like any like young people now that are getting into recording, and they like, I mean, honestly, I get like one email every week. Can I come and learn from you at the studio? Do you know what I mean? What would you recommend I do? And I try and reply to all of them, and I'll always just say, just go and work for free. Just go and start recording bands. Get a little box of mics and just go and record a band. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, that's the only way you're going to get better, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so that's kind of that's how I got started in it, and then interested in it.
Not kind of give you like any of the business sense sort of thing, because obviously it's not just going to be all practical, and obviously you have to.
Do you know the actual
and stuff.
the actual like mixing and the actual recording and stuff of it? That's like it's 30% of the job. Do you know what I mean? The rest of it is like dealing with like emails and all the other side to it, and like obviously the editing side and the prep side and stuff. That takes a long time. Do you know what I mean? That's all part and parcel of it. But it's I'd say it's the only job now that I think I could do. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I could do a proper job. Like
Yeah.
this is what I've I've got it in. I feel like it's in my blood to record bands and stuff, and that's what I love doing. And it's like that's the only thing I could see myself doing for the rest of my life now, until I'm old and deaf, and then that's probably a bit obsolete once you're deaf, isn't it?
But, well, especially when it comes to our neck of the thing, like because we love heavy music, extreme
Loud
music.
music, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
probably have been a fan just as long as what I have.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? So what for people like ourselves and who are part of the underground scene or just music in general, a lot of people will feel as if they can't hear this sort of thing, it's like there's no
Mm.
really point living. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing.
Of course, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's a lot of why they're around. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
They love it,
Mhm.
absolutely love it.
Yeah, man.
Um, so you mentioned you play a bit of guitar in a couple of bands, etc.
Yeah.
Are you still part of them bands or anything, or do you?
So I don't really have. So this is a funny one because I say I don't have time to be in a band, but 2 Christmases ago I started writing an album just like on my own, just like my own thing, and that's like so what I did is I started at Christmas because that particular Christmas I had like a 2 week period where I thought, oh, I can get in and actually just start doing my own thing. So I basically wrote this record in periods where I like had little bits of downtime in between bands where there was maybe like, oh, I've got 4 days there where I've not got bands in or anything like that. It's like I can get like writing my own thing, and that sort of turned into an album. And then I've ended up like we recorded some drums for that. I had Chris Williams, who I do a lot of session work with. He's the old Shrapnel drummer. He's just left actually, but he came and played drums on it. And it's kind of like orchestrally, Dimmu, Septic Fleshy kind of style stuff that I've done. But yeah, I've written that, and like that is going to turn into a band, hopefully. Like, well, I say hopefully, I mean it will be a band, but yeah, it's going to be kind of limited. I think the idea I kind of got for it is kind of like an Avengers Assemble. I've got like some amazing musicians from like all over the country, and then if we get like a little run of gigs, we'll basically just all meet at the studio, have a rehearsal for a day, and then go out and do the gigs kind of thing.
I
Um,
like that. The
yeah,
Avengers.
yeah.
Is that
So,
what you want to call it? The
yeah,
Avengers
like
Assemble.
yeah, well, that's what I feel about it. Yeah, but no, in terms of like being in bands and stuff as well, obviously it's finding the time because it's like it's quite a labor to be in a band, isn't it? You know what I mean? Even just the
It
organisation and all.
can be. But I can imagine what you're doing at Ritual Studios as well is also just as well. It can be time consuming. I
Of
can
course,
only
yeah, yeah.
imagine the time consuming that can
Oh,
take.
do you know what? It's funny, people sometimes say like, "Oh, so doing a job like that, like how many hours a week do you do?" And I'm like, it doesn't really work like that. Like, sometimes I'm doing like probably like 30 hours a week, and it's like, oh, it's quite quiet. And then there's other times where I'm like, I get up, I sit down, I edit, and I go to bed. Do you know what I mean? It's like I might go
Mm.
and pick my son up from his nursery. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's it. So
And
it's
then as
like,
soon as you've picked them up, you're
yeah.
straight
And
back
do you
into
know
the
what it is?
editing
It's
sort of
like,
thing.
yeah, that's it. It's just you've just got to get the work done at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? That's how it works. So, and if you've got four band, and you can guarantee they all want it all want their mixes doing it at the same time. It's how it works. It's like buses, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. So
but yeah.
yes, when did Ritual Studios start then? How long has Ritual Studios been going for?
I want to say about 2010. I think we did our first like tax return. So that was like when we first were officially a business kind of thing. So yeah, so 2010, yeah. It's
Nice.
me
And is it
and
just yeah,
just me
go
and
on.
there's a lad Adam who's like a sleeping partner in the business, but he doesn't get involved in any recording or anything like that.
That's fair enough. That's fair
Um,
enough. And you've got a strong reputation, obviously, as you just touched on within the metal business.
yeah,
You mentioned Shrapnel, Sothamel.
yeah,
You've also worked with Tortured Demon, I believe.
Dr.
Is that
Demon, yeah,
correct?
they're really good.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to go far. I think they're really good young guys, but they're doing everything the right way. Do you know what I mean? There's like, and I think they listen when people around tell them stuff. and then they also do what they want to do. Do you know what I mean? Like they make their own decisions and stuff, which is what a good band does at the end of the day. So yeah, I feel like give them a couple of years, they might be quite big.
I hope
I hope
so.
so, because
I hope so.
like they've put out some really like their last album that they did, I was a big fan of, and then obviously they contacted me to do the single that they just put out, and when they contacted me, I was like, oh, this will be good because like sometimes you see a name come up of a band, and sometimes you're like, God no, see this, you look them up, some like French band or something, it's like, God, I don't know who this is, like, and then every now and then you get one, and you go, oh God, I've always wanted to work with them, that's brilliant. So it's like it's quite nice. But yeah, Torture Demon, they're good. Like I've worked with band Trivax. Do you know Trivax?
Yeah, I'm aware of Trivax and there's Unburia as well, I believe.
Unburia as well, yeah. Unburia, they're
Yeah.
so tight. They're like those guys are really good players.
And of course, the gents who I've also spoken with on this podcast, Sathamel, of course.
Sathamel, yeah.
Who
Were you saying
are
about the
absolutely-
Greg's Order?
Yes, absolutely legendary lads. Them.
Yeah. What else do you ask
Really
a
nice
black and
guy.
death metal band?
Why not? Why the hell not? Why not? You got to have something to scream about.
Yeah, mate.
Especially if they dig it wrong, if it's wrong and it's burnt or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of piss a black metal band off, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for Ritual Studios, what do you feel sets you apart from other studios?
So I sort of twigged onto this years and years ago through there was some like when I was a kid there was some like free consultation because I've always wanted to do this since I was so hilariously when I was 14 I used to have a contract to play football with Darlington FC. So I was so that's what I wanted to do in my life when I was 14, and then when I was 16 they basically turn around and go, yeah, you're not good enough to be a professional, mate. Off you go. So then they tear your contract up. Because that's the point, isn't it? Where they have to decide whether you're going to be a professional footballer. So I was a bit like, right, what was I do then? So like, I already played a bit of guitar. So then obviously started doing guitar. And then, like I say, once I got into recording, I thought, right, this is what I'm going to do. So, so like from there, what was your question exactly again? Sorry.
So it was like, you've got strong
what sets me apart? What do
you believe sets your studio
my train of thought is shocking. So there was like a guy who did like a business thing where he said to me, if you're going to do that kind of business, he said, your USP or your unique selling point, it's very apprentice, isn't it? But it's like he said, your thing that people will come to you for is you. Do you know what I mean? And that I like the more that goes on, it's like, oh yeah, that guy was right all the way back then. Like the thing that sets you apart is kind of, it's you. It's like there's loads of people where they go like, it might be like a doom band or something like that. Oh, we really want to sound like this band, and I always think, well, why didn't you find out who did that record and then go to them? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and it's the same thing. It's like if people like what I do, they'll come to me. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how it is. And at the end of the day, it's your ears that are the big thing, which is another thing in audio. Like, I seem to think maybe 10, 15 years ago, people didn't want to give away too much information because they thought like, oh, somebody will try and copy my mix and all this kind of stuff. And the more that you get into it, the more you realize that like, you've got like pros out there that are just like, giving like, I mean, I give out all my information. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to help people get better at mixing as well. And it's like at the end of the day, you can tell people till they're blue in the face, but it's like, it's your taste. You're selling your taste and like your ears and like your decisions and stuff like that at the end of the day. So that is kind of what I think sets my studio apart from other studios.
Is there a specific genre that you mainly focus on, or do you focus on all?
Not really. So I tend to work with, like, I'd say about 75% of my output of bands that I work with is like rock and metal bands. And at the minute I'm doing a lot more rock bands actually than more extreme metal stuff, but it goes in cycles kind of thing. But we also do like, I've done like folk stuff, and we've done acoustic stuff, and I've done like voiceovers for radio and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like recording people for voiceovers for radio and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, as a studio, you try and it's actually quite nice when I get something where I'm like, oh, it's not metal. but obviously, the thing that's the bill payer is the kind of extreme metal stuff, yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Hmm.
That's why I was asking if there was a specific like genre in the metal scene that you kind of focus on mainly, that you
Um,
prefer to do, sort of thing.
mm,
Because I've noticed you've done a lot of thrash, obviously
yeah,
Tortured
so there's quite a
Demon.
lot of thrash, quite a lot of like Black and Death stuff, and yeah, like those kind of bands. I mean, that's kind of the music that I like as well. I think I always say to bands as well, because by the time you've finished working with a band, like you've probably listened to the album about 500 times. Do you know what I mean? Like from like inception all the way through. It's like I'd love to know. I'd love to know some of these songs. It's like I must have clocked up some hours listening to that album. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of like you have to like the music, because if you don't like the music, you're gonna have to sit for a long time listening to it. And if you're sick of it by day one, get somebody else to do it and move on. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so you've got to, and I always think you've got to like the bands that you're working with, because like you say, it'd be tedious if it wasn't. Do you know what I mean?
Especially if you've got to,
Mhm.
especially in certain sections, you've got to repeat the same
Oh
areas
yeah,
over and over again.
yeah.
Your head must be battered after a while,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah. Like, that's what people say sometimes as well. They're like, oh, so what kind of music do you listen to in your downtime? I'm like, I like to stand in the kitchen and cook in silence when I get home. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I just want to hear nothing. Do you know what I mean?
I
Like,
thought you were just
yeah.
going to go into something like proper obscure there, you know.
Oh no, no. Like, to be fair, I quite like listen to more podcasts and stuff than thing. But obviously at the studio and sort of when I'm sort of at home edit, I've got like a little editing bit over there in the corner. Because I just edit from home a lot of the time. It's
Hmm.
easier because where my studio is in a place called Mornby, which is like
Okay,
Northallerton,
okay.
and I live in
Is that like
Darlington.
Yorkshire way, is it?
It is, yeah, it's technically North Yorkshire, yeah. So it's about 35 minutes drive out into the middle of nowhere. But yeah, it's like a big converted barn, my studio. So it's got like an upstairs and a downstairs, and it's the actual barn itself's
Are you
pretty
actually in
big.
the studio as we speak, are we?
No, I'm
No,
at
no.
home at the moment. Yeah, just
Are you at
obviously
home, man?
in that little back
Oh, right, so
bedroom, like
it's
I
not,
say.
so it's not close by, so you got to go a bit of a way. Right, I'm with you.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, I think is actually a good thing, because I know people who've got like studios which are like down the bottom of the garden and stuff, and I feel
Mhm.
like I'm more productive when I know I've got to drive 35 minutes there. I'm going there for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I get cracked on and get what I need to get
I
done.
hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Because
Because
if you're at home,
it's
it
just the
must
bottom
be
of the garden. I'd be like,
difficult.
oh, I might just go watch a bit of telly. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Well,
would, wouldn't
at
you?
the end of the day, home is where you're supposed to go and relax in it. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's it. Yeah, if you can try and
And then
separate it,
if
I think some people probably do that fine. And like I say, I've got like a little editing bit over there, where I've got my little like Mac and stuff like that, and I'll sort of just edit from home, because otherwise it's just a tenner in petrol, isn't it?
well, this is it. This is it. I mean, then I struggle with that. I'm not going to lie.
Hmm.
Especially because you've had a tough week at work, night shifts, etc. And then when it comes to your first night off, I mean, you're mentally drained. And
Right.
I've had times when I just cabbage on the on the sofa. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't want to
mate.
move.
Yeah.
But
You
like
got
I say,
kids?
no, I've got no kids. I've
Oh
got nothing.
God, you're lucky.
So
You say,
I,
'cause you don't get that time. You don't get to do that when you got kids, especially when they're little, like mine. Oh God.
no, they children. It wouldn't be plausible with mine and me wife's
Yeah,
work. 'Cause
yeah.
she's a nurse.
Ah, right,
I'm a
okay. Oh God,
supervisor.
like nurse shifts are horrible, right?
Yeah, it's like ships passing the night sometimes. Do you know what I
Is
mean?
it?
So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a nightmare.
yeah.
So
Oh well.
it's just one of them things.
Yeah, mate.
But can you describe your role at Ritual Studios and what does a typical day or project look like for you?
Uh, okay, so I pretty much do everything. Um,
You just
yeah, like from fucking emptying the bins to to like doing like overseeing all the projects and stuff. So in terms of like a typical project, a band will get in contact with me, and then I quite like to sort out all of the adult stuff. I got this from one of my friends, George. He always said just to get all the adult bit out the way in terms of like the
you
payment
mean
for the project.
I was about to
You know
say
what I mean?
like the admin and business sort of
Yeah,
thing.
just get that out of the way, because then like no, because there's nothing worse than sitting there and thinking, "Ah, they've only paid like 50%
Mm.
deposit and I'm waiting for the money and stuff like that." Do you know what I mean? And like now I just put my foot down and I basically say I need all the money before I start a project. You know what I mean? And because that way we can focus on the fun bit, which is making the songs. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so we do that, and then I'll tend to get the bands. The best thing about modern day recording and stuff like that actually is everybody's kind of got a little interface, and everybody can download like a guitar VST and get some half decent little tones and stuff going, just to do pre-production, even if it's just for that kind of thing. And there's like things like Reaper, obviously, that are free. So like if they don't know what they're doing, I can like set them a Reaper project up and say, right, we'll just record some guitars into this and sort of talk them through it. And then we do as much pre-production as we can. Sometimes bands need help with their songs. Sometimes, so that's like more in terms of like a production. Also, sometimes bands will have like a basic outline of a song, and they're like, does it need a solo? Does it need a double chorus? Does it, is the intro too long and all kinds of stuff? And I'll work with the bands actually before we even press record on anything, about like to go through and make sure the songs are as good as they can be. And then sometimes you get bands that come in, like where they send me the songs, and I'm just like, okay, these are just absolutely killer. You don't need to do anything to those. So yeah, so they do the pre-production, and then I tend to do drums first, but it doesn't always work like that, but I tend to record drums first, and then we do like guitars and bass, any other little bits, synths and all that kind of stuff, and then vocals last. However, as I'm getting older, the more I start thinking, I quite like getting vocals done, like, or getting the vocalist involved a little bit earlier. Even if it's like a case of like, oh, we do half the guitars, then we'll do half the vocals, and then we'll finish off the second half of the guitars for like an EP or an album, whatever. Just because it gives the vocalist a rest, but it also makes them feel like they're involved. Because I think one of the worst things you can do is kind of like, say a band's booked like 9 days at the studio, you go, all right, blah blah, and you leave like the last 3 days for vocals or something. The vocalist sat for 6 days, like, what the am I doing here?
Yeah, bored.
And like a lot of the time, and a lot of the time, I'll say, you do realize you are just going to be sat about for 6 days. You might want to just turn up on day 5 or something. Unless
or if you get a text message if you need you early or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we do that, and then if I'm mixing the project, I kind of like. I know people will say, oh, you shouldn't do that, but I kind of tend to mix as I go, and because I like, especially by the time it gets to like vocal recording, I like it to kind of sound in the headphones kind of like a finished mix and stuff, because I think it makes them sing better. Like I do a little bit of singing myself, and I know definitely like if what's coming back at you sounds good, you're like, right, like it definitely makes you sing better. But then if I'm sending it off for somebody else to mix, I just kind of, if I need to edit it, I edit it and then send it off to them. If not, I just mix it and master it myself. And then yeah, just kind of. Like every project's different as well, mate. Because like some projects come together really quick, and it might take me like a day to mix them, and then others might take me like a week, like if they're a lot more complicated. But yeah, and then once that's done, I always say to the band, sit on the mix that I've sent for a couple of days, maybe a day or two, if they can, if the schedule allows it, so to speak. But I always say sit on that and have a good listen to it. And then what I do is I kind of what we're doing here, where we jump on like a little call, and there's a thing called Audio Movers that I use where it can send what's coming out of my Cubase session at the studio to them, so they can hear it in real time. So that like you can kind of, if say it's like a thing of like, oh, I think the vocals could be a bit louder, I can literally just sit there, turn the vocals up, la, 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 la. Oh, that's too loud, right, down a little bit, right, done. That might have taken 3 emails if you were doing it backwards and forwards in an email, whereas human interaction like we're doing now is so much better, isn't it? Than like, and sometimes you read an email, you're like, what are they there? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you get some notes and you think, what's that even mean? Like, so
I prefer this sort of format, to be honest with you, because it's hard to read what are they trying to get across? Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
It's always difficult, and sometimes are you interpreting it wrong as well?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's an email that could be quite negative, and you're like, oh, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It just in your brain for some reason.
Are
these pissed off with us for some reason?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
right,
So yeah, I prefer direct communication, like what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a lot more easier because you get a judge of how people are.
Yeah.
But given the intensity of how extreme metal can be, What specific techniques do you employ during recording to capture the energy of the performance?
Ooh, God, there's so much. So yeah, I think especially the way music's going these days in terms of like mastering, I think everything's like pretty compressed and pretty loud, like in your face sounding, and it's kind of like that is over the years that's become like a sound, so to speak. So like if something isn't absolutely slamming, people kind of have an expectation and they kind of listen to it and they go, doesn't really sound like the mix itself might be really good, but if it's not like competitively loud enough, you kind of you're shooting yourself in the foot almost. So it's kind of that's one of the things. I think the other thing is the tightness of it all, and I think with my productions, I try to obviously when we record, if I'm recording it, I try to get the best out of people in terms of their performance and stuff, and like like constantly telling drummers like hit harder, and like guitarists like you can dig in more and all this kind of stuff, and like all these little things that like tiny little bits that end up making something like they all add up accumulatively to like make a better production kind of thing. But I try and like obviously like editing and stuff like that is a big part of metal in general. However, I think there's a bit of a staleness in stuff that's like really gridded and stuff. Obviously, like nobody wants to hear that. It sounds like a fucking robot. Do you know what I mean? It's like a drum machine almost. You're trying to get away from that, but also I feel like there's definitely an expected level of tightness for certain things. So like yeah, kind of not going overboard and making it robotic, but keeping it really tight. And actually, like you just said, what is in the aggression and stuff. Sometimes like if like someone's like doing a blast beat or something like that, if you're editing it, you can actually if you're pulling it slightly early before the beat, it can actually make you feel like he's like really going at it kind of thing. Whereas if it's on the grid, it's almost too perfect, and it almost seems like more aggressive and heavier if it's like a little bit wrong, but like real. Do you know what I mean? Like
I hear.
I feel like that's but that's all kind of like super picky technical stuff, and it's all specific to each project really. But yeah, I mean,
I mean, that must be a bit of a challenge in itself because you touched on there about with the blast beats and how it sounds a bit too perfect.
uh
You must be trying to get that balance of sounding too perfect because obviously when you hear these songs live, they're not going to sound exactly what you hear
yeah, exactly
in the
right.
studio.
Uh-huh.
So how do you balance that? Because you've got to try and get that balance right because you don't
Yeah,
want to
you
sound
do.
too
You definitely
perfect.
do. Yeah, because
Because then people are going to say that doesn't sound like that on the
exactly. Yeah,
on
like
the album.
what you don't want to just start doing is throwing like
Mm.
samples where it sounds like someone's fucking going down, 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 but they're going like da, 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 da. It's like it's only so hard you can hit a drum when you're going that fast and stuff, isn't there? So it's like, yeah. So just being careful with stuff like that really does help. But I mean,
Do you
at the end
find
of the
that
day,
challenging
uh, I think it's a big part of music production and stuff. But it's that whole. I know Andy Sneap always says that if you can mix extreme metal stuff, you can probably mix anything because you've got drums that are fucking going fast as fast as they can. Every frequency, you've got kick drums just going. You've got snares going off, loads of reverb. You've got like a distorted bass, distorted guitars, distorted vocals, like drum distortions. Do you know what I mean? Like literally everything is taken up, every frequency. And you have to start deciding right where we cut in here and what's important and what's not kind of thing. Because like technically, if you described metal to people, it should just sound like a total mess. And I think it kind of is, and I think that's half the skill on the back end, on the mixing end, is kind of bringing in a bit of that clarity. But I also think you can ruin it by making it too clear. Like I think there's, you see all these plugins and stuff. Like I don't know how much you know about music production in general, but there's like all these kind of plugins. It's like one knob to turn this up, and it'll instantly make this sound better. And there's a lot of the time you've got to do the real work because there's only so much that's going to do. And actually, having stuff sounding too separated and too clean is like all of a sudden a bad thing. Like it wants to. I always think it still always wants to sound like a band all playing at once. You should be able to like close your eyes and sort of like imagine they're playing like a main stage download or wherever they want to, like that's the goal I always think at the end of the day. But
Nice. So you
yeah.
touched on plugins plugins there as well. So what
Alright.
are your go-to plugins or hardwares for achieving the signature Ritual Studio sound, especially in the mixing and the mastering?
Yeah, so the answer to that is I don't think it matters. Obviously there's certain
really?
things that I think because I've done it myself where like I've said, right, I'm only going to use the SSL channel strip for this entire mix, and I'll do a mix, and then I'll do a mix where I can use every plugin that I've got in, like I've got bloody hundreds. And at the end of the day, they both sound really similar, and it's kind of what I said before. It's like I'm the one making the decisions, and it's my ears and my taste, so it's like it kind of always sounds the same. And like honestly, if you I always say if you're a good mixer, you can probably, well, not even probably, you definitely can. You can make a killer sounding record using the stock things that come with like Pro Tools or Cubase or Reaper or whatever, just the stock things, because it's all knowing what they do. You know what I mean? Like, and using it how you see fit kind of thing. That's so yeah. So I don't really think that there's anything that I rely on necessarily. Probably rely more on like guitar amps and cabinets and mics and stuff. I think that's way more important than plugins necessarily. But yeah, so that's like
So
long and short answer that I don't think matters.
that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. Everyone's got a different opinion at the end of the day,
Yeah, of
aren't
course,
they?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and as long as it works for you, that's
Mhm.
what's important, and you can get the best out of the band.
Yeah, well,
That's your main
that's the
goal.
thing,
So,
man, and it's like yeah, like just making sure that the band are hyped and that they're all in on what they're doing is a big one. Like,
so how do you balance clarity and aggression in a mix, particularly with dense arrangements?
I don't really know. Yeah, just like, I suppose you just, I guess it's kind of what I just described, really. You kind of you do it, really. It's like, there's obviously like certain little things that are like go-tos where you think, oh yeah, like I like a nice bit of kind of 4 to 6K and a kick drum and all that kind of stuff. But every band's different, and like obviously every kick drum you record is different, every drummer's different. It's like,
Yes.
and same with guitarists, man. You can you put certain guitarists into a chain, and you listen to them and you go, God, that sounds killer. Like there's a couple of guitar players that I know who I think, God, you could plug them into absolutely anything, and it'll probably still sound really good because it's like they can just get that out of their hands almost. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like I for all I do believe that tones in the hands, it's kind of it is and it isn't really. There's a bit of both going on, but yeah, like in terms of clarity, like balancing and getting the aggression, I really don't know. I think it's um just like trying to focus on like punchy sounding music and like you say, I try not to shy away from like distortion and stuff like that. Like if you see some of the stuff that I distort in some of my sessions, it's like you'd think, hey God, I'm surprised you're distorting like toms and stuff like that. Like I always distort toms, and it's like you might think if you heard them on your own, you'd be like, oh, that's a little bit thing, but obviously nobody listens to just a tom on its own. Do you know? Like so when you hear it inside a mix, you can't hear that distortion, and actually that's what makes it cut. That's what you hear, kind of thing.
See.
The same for guitars as well. Like if you start notching out guitar, like I used to struggle with, even guitar's my instrument, for God's sake. But I used to struggle with guitars for years. I used to think I can never do guitar. I can't do guitars. And then over the last 8 years, I just decided like try and do as little as possible, so that like it's kind of like people who are good chefs always say, like good Italian chefs, they always say the ingredients speak for themselves. It's like get a good guitar that's in tune, intonated, some nice fresh strings on it, get a good head, maybe a boost going in or something like that, get a good cabinet, stick a mic on it. If you can't get that to sound good, no amount of bloody EQing and throwing plugins and stuff at it's going to work. It's like it has to sound like, I reckon, like 90% of the way there, and then try not to overly touch it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
like get it right going in, and then and actually I think my guitar tones have been so much better for that process kind of thing. I think
That's a lot of kit as well, just to try and get a decent sound that you've
well,
just
yeah,
whacked off there.
exactly. It is, yeah, like, yeah. Oh God, you should sit like, and sometimes you go through like pedal after pedal to try and find the right thing, but when you get it, it's like you go like, oh yeah, that's definitely the one. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah.
Nice. So, is there any challenges when it comes to mastering for different playback platforms? So, like for streaming, vinyl, CD, while maintaining the integrity of the sound?
So I think just good monitoring helps in terms of making your mastering decisions. Like there's no substitute for it really. Like so I use like speakers, and then I use these focal Olo audio. Sorry, I've got focal speakers. Sorry, and then these Olo audio headphones. And then kind of I still do the the car test. I'll put it on in the car and stuff like that. But I don't rely on the car test. And actually, the better that my monitoring's got over the years, I feel like you put it on in the car now, and if you've done it right at the studio, you kind of go, oh yeah, it sounds class in the car. So but it's all, I mean, I'm always learning. It's every day's a school day. I'm always learning, so it's kind of like you're always trying to get that extra little 2% better all the time, aren't you, and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of, I know there's a lot of theories in terms of people saying you should do different masters for different streaming services. I don't know who is doing this professionally, who has got the time to do that. That is insanity, and it doesn't make sense. So all I do is I just make it as loud as I can without it compromising any of the quality. Because once you start going too loud, you start going, this is ridiculous now. And actually, you start pulling it down a little bit. You're like hitting your limit like a little bit less, and you start going, this sounds so much nicer. Like, and actually sometimes you check your numbers and you go, oh, I'm up in towards the old Death Magnetic kind of kind of thing. Which
as long as it's not like Saint Anger, then we're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're fine as long as you're not getting into Saint Anger territory. Yeah, you don't want that tinny snare.
But yeah, so like I just try and make it sound as loud as I can, but not compromising the quality. And it differs from band to band as well. Obviously, like if I'm doing like I was saying about I've done some acoustic stuff. If I'm doing an acoustic artist, you don't need to make that anywhere near as loud as like an extreme metal band. It's like and it kind of, it is what it is. It kind of has its own role, so to speak. So so yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's using the old lug-holes to.
Yeah, of course. So with a diverse client list like Travax, Tortured Demon, Shrapnel, and of course you're getting into more rock stuff as well. Mm-hmm. How do you adapt your approach to suit each band's unique sound and vision?
Okay, I kind of let the bands tell me. So like if the band has a specific kind of like guitar sound in mind, I'll always say, bring your, if I'm recording it, that is, I always say, bring your gear and show me like what it is you're going for, because the more I can kind of know kind of going in, the better. And obviously I think a lot of it is talking to the bands. Like, so when we're setting up drums, if we haven't already spoken about it, like leading up to it, which a lot of the time we have, but we're setting up drums and I'm sort of just finding out like what bands are you into, what kind of sound, like what kind of stuff do you like? Do you like, ringy snares? Do you like this kind of, what kind of cymbals do you like, and stuff like that? Because we'll try out cymbals and all these little things that end up kind of making the project what it is. But also I always say to bands, I say like, you've got to like let me do my bit as well. Although I will always imprint something onto a band's work if I've worked with them, because that's like the nature of it. However, I won't keep pushing stuff. I might suggest like, do you not think we should change that snare sound before we start? Like, and if they're like, no, we really like this like high pitched snare ringy thing, they're like, all right, okay. And I might suggest it one more time, but then if they're adamant that that's what they're going for, I'll just be like, okay, cool. That's it's at the end of the day, it's their band. Do you know what I mean? It's like their thing.
Yeah, they've kind of paid what they want for doing. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you can only suggest so much, can't you?
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of the times you've got to just try stuff. There's like, I remember there was one record that I did, and I was I was suggesting to do some tambourine in a chorus, and the guy was just like, tambourine, absolutely no way, no way like this. And then
The tambourine, like?
yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, honestly, I love all that like auxiliary percussion stuff. I love it. But then Cult of Luna brought an album out and there was tambourine on it, and he was like, "Oh, I wish we'd done it now." And I was like, because I was like his favorite band, I think, at the time. So
we need more Triangle, dude.
mate, yeah, look at that. You see? Oh, look at that, just on hand. Yeah, I used to play Triangle in a reggae band, but I had to leave because it was
never.
one thing out after another thing.
Nice.
That's a terrible joke. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the time when you get stuff sent to mix, it's kind of like, they've already decided on what kind of tones they want. And I always get them to send me a DI as well, just in case I want to like try and beat the tone or anything like that. But yeah, like, and I think it's important not to, on my part, not to get involved too much in that bit, because I think the band still needs to sound like their band. Do you know what I mean? Once you start trying to, we could just change this and change your guitar sound and making the drummer play stuff that he's not comfortable with, and at the end of the day, they're probably just thinking, it's not really what we wanted. So I try to just let the band come through as much as I can, and I hope. But I also I listen back to some of my mixes sometimes, and like I think, you can definitely tell I bloody mixed it, because there's definitely things going on in each one where it's similar. Do you know what I mean? It might be a completely different kick drum and a completely different sample or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, it's kind of, I've clearly gone, I know what I like, so I've kind of ended up in a similar ballpark. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so like, I think you've got to let the band be themselves, kind of thing, haven't you?
I can imagine there can be quite a lot of creative differences. How do you handle the creative differences or disagreements with bands during the production process?
You kind of got to let them see it out, and then sometimes they'll come to me. Sometimes they'll go, right. And you know what? It's quite nice when you get a band where there's like odd numbers of people. Because if there's like 5 or 7 of them or whatever, or 3, because it's like then usually there's an outpost.
You act like as media sort of thing.
Yeah. So like, but then sometimes they'll say to me, "What do you think?" kind of thing. And obviously I try and at the end of the day, all these productions have got my name on it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I want it to be as good as it can be. So I'll always give my honest opinion, and if I think
of course, because at the end of the day,
something's crap, I'll say it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's times
you want to gain more clientele at the end of the day, don't you? So
I mean, like at the end of the day, like I always say, it's more the thing of, I always say to bands, you'll look back on this when you're 70, and you'll listen to it, and you'll go, that was really good, that we did that properly. And do you know what I mean? It's like, make decisions based on that. Don't make decisions based on like, oh well, the drummer wanted to do it, so we did it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and it clearly annoys the other people.
Does that happen?
Like, well, why don't you say, and then we can sort it out? Yeah, that's it. So, but yeah, so I mean, do you know what? In all the time I've been doing this, we've never had proper fights or anything like that. I've never.
That's good.
Nah, yeah, it's never got like ridiculous. I mean, there's been massive disagreements and stuff and things, but
heated arguments sort of thing.
And you know what? There's probably been people that have left bands and stuff further down the line because of like, but in terms of like actual scraps and stuff like that, there's never been anything like that. You know what I mean? Like,
that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's good, because you don't want to hear that sort of thing, and you don't want that in your studio as well, do you? So
no, oh god, no. Like I've got like a pretty strict. I don't mind people having like the occasional like beer and stuff like that. Especially, I mean, if a drummer's done 3 days in the studio and then he's like, right, I'm going to go and get a case of beer and have the beer. I'm just like, yeah, it's absolutely fine. But like, I try to
tied you up after yourselves, though.
Yeah, put it in the bin, yeah. But like, but yeah, I try to discourage anything like that. And obviously, like, mind you, every now and then you get like, for example, the Sathamel guys. I think when we did the recording sessions for that, Dan, the singer, he was absolutely smashing shots down him as we were doing it. But like, he kept sounding, he was sounding better. And I was like,
was he?
Yeah. was like, but like, I mean, it's terrible for your throat, by the way. So like, it's like, but yeah, so like, it is what it
Maybe
is.
that's
But yeah, like,
the style he was going for.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
What was his poison though? What was he
I think he
knocking
was
back?
drinking Jägermeister, mate.
Oh,
Like cough
nice.
syrup, innit?
It's pretty much high. If
Mm,
you've got a chesty cough,
like Benylin.
shove that down your throat.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
So working in the industry, obviously you'll see so many different like digital technologies and stuff coming through.
mhm.
How have these digitals impacted your work and the way rock and metal music is produced?
uh, I think it's brilliant. And like I say, I think the fact that everyone can get an interface and record some stuff, it's actually like, 'cause I think there's probably a lot of old dinosaurs way back when stuff like that started coming in, where they thought like, oh, studios are gonna lose out on work and all that kind of stuff. And in reality, it's just not true. And you've got to make it work for you. So like, for example, say a band's been to record a full album, and then we've been listening through to it constantly, and then they go home and I send them the mix, and they're like, oh, there's no lead section on this song, and I'm like, okay, and I look and I'm just like, we didn't even record a lead section for that song. They can quickly just do it at home, send it to me, I can reamp it, bang, it's done. They don't have to come back to the studio to do it. People can send me stuff from all over the world, and I mean, I've mixed stuff for people who I've never even met. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
Mm.
you know, people are totally different country. People have probably never even been to the UK. You know, it's like, it's it's kind of the technology's there to help everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's brilliant. So and like in terms of like things like the Quad Cortex and the Kemper, I've got a Kemper and stuff like that. I mean, they're just absolutely genius tools. Like the Kemper is fantastic. So you can sort of like take a snap. It's a bit like Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat,
Yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
you learn other people's moves. It kind of does that, but with guitar amps. So like it kind of just it learns the kind of the signal chain. So you've always got that signal chain, which is perfect because you can guarantee that like somebody will kick a mic over, or and then you're like trying to find out where you had the mic on the guitar amp, or like like an amp will blow up on you or something like that. You think it's nice to have one of them um, at your disposal, so then you've always got that tone, or if the band want to go and add some more bits, you can just add it with exactly the same tone. It's brilliant. And computers as well. I mean, I've just got a new Mac the other year because my trusty old iMac that I had for best bit of 10 years, that finally packed in and had an aneurysm. But I've got this new machine, and it's like, I mean, they cost a fair whack, to be fair. They're expensive. I got an Apple Mac Studio, but like I spec'd it up a bit, and honestly, like it's so quick, and like I can do things on that in terms of like running plugin after plugin after plugin. I don't think I can crash it. I've tried crashing it. I just literally can't do it.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, mate, honestly, I loaded like the most CPU heavy stuff that was like, like absolutely rinsing the CPU, and I was looking at it, and I only got it up to about 70%. I was like, this is absolutely bonkers. So,
Nice.
but yeah, so
Might
and
have to invest in one of
that's
them
like
myself.
not a limitation. However, I do feel like plugin companies are going to start getting, well, not lazy, but I think they'll start thinking, oh, people's machines are pretty good these days, and then they'll
Mm.
start bringing in even more CPU intensive stuff that they don't need to, and before long, give it 10 years, that machine will be slow, and it's like, all right, now I need another one. I mean, that's the way bloody Western consumerism works, right? Like,
Well, yeah,
right? Building
yeah.
cars with
Well,
faults and stuff, yeah.
mobile phones, etc.
Exactly, mate.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly it. Yeah.
I'm
So,
sure they're designed to
but yeah, I
work.
feel like technology and stuff is class. It's just brilliant, and it's like, but then I still got like, I mean, the Sony mixing desk that I use at the studio, they're like, we, so me and James, the guy who owns the land at the studio, he found that, and there was two of them. There was two of them on a BBC auction, and they were just sat in a BBC back room. And mate, we got them on an absolute steal at this auction. So we've got two mixing desks that are identical, and one of them's just in the back room, which we use for spare parts because 2 Christmases ago the touchscreen went off on the mixing desk, and we were like, oh damn, we just swapped it out, bang, done. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's really handy.
Sorted.
But I mean, that's a bit of old kit, and I've got like a couple of old reverb units and stuff like that, which are quite sought after bits of kit now, but they're kind of like, they're a bit of an arse ache, but they're good fun when you're tracking drums to um like stick a reverb channel on the desk and hear what it'll sound like with a bit of reverb and stuff. But unless I'm after a specific effect, they don't get as much use as I'd quite like them to, which is a bit of a shame. But like I mean, Slate do that that reverb plugin, which is like every single hardware reverb modeled, and it's like, why would you need anything else? That's like ideal. So yeah, so ease of use, I end up being a bit lazy sometimes and just using that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you touched on as well about how some old timers are worrying about how studios are kind of going under, sort of thing. Does that worry you, because a lot of bands now are just choosing to record from home? Does that worry you, sort of thing, going forward?
Not really. No, not really. I think to be honest, I mean, I know guys as well who they've said, oh, I prefer not tracking. Like, I still quite enjoy tracking, but like especially the older I get, the more I think, actually, yeah, like I'm happy for a band to come maybe track drums with me or track drums elsewhere, but go and track some drums and then record all the guitars themselves, and so they can be really nitpicky and they can spend 3 weeks doing it. Because if I had to sit for 3 weeks, I would be like this, recording guitars for 3 weeks, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's actually a good thing, and then they can just send them to me when they're perfect. Like I just worked with Struck a Nerve, which is a couple of the ex-Shrapnel members, and Nathan recorded all the guitars for that, and he's really got into like a bit of guitar editing and stuff, and he did a cracking job. But it takes a while, and like he was really meticulous over that and all this stuff for that. And then I just said to him, well, just send me it when it's done, kind of thing. And I just waited on that, and then when I got it, it was bang on. So it's kind of like. And at the end of the day, people will always need, if you're a good mixer, people will always need that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I always think about AI as well. People are worried about AI. I'm just like, I'm not worried about AI, especially in the minute. I just think, like, I think the people who are worried about AI are probably like people who like make and sell beats. You know what I mean? Where they have to spend like an hour dragging some stuff in and like making a generic beat. AI can probably do like 100 of them in an hour. You know what I mean? If not, but kind of like the kind of mixing that I do and stuff like that, I think I'm not too worried about it. I can't wait for AI editing to come in, actually. Like, why are we not doing? Why are we not doing that? Like, if I could just say to an AI thing, like, oh, edit this, not quite to the grid, but like pretty tight, like make it sound like Suffocation in terms of the edits and stuff like that, right? Brilliant. I could just go fucking take my kids to the park and come back and it was done. Oh my god! Like, really, that's what we should be using the technology for. Do you know what I mean? Like, I always think that, people say like, "Hey, God, check out tills and stuff like that." They always say, "Hey, like, it's getting rid of people's jobs and stuff like that." It's like, surely that's freeing up somebody to go and do something else. Do you know what I mean? Like, surely the whole like menial jobs and stuff like that. Surely we want robots to be doing all of those. Like,
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily worried on AI. I'm more annoyed with the people that use it, because especially when it comes to music, because I do a weekly Twitch stream as well where we're streaming.
Yeah, well, you messaged me about saying something about an AI thing that you were talking about, and I was like,
yeah. So a lot of people come to the live stream, and they'll literally request a song, and then you will find out it's a fully AI generated song.
Yeah.
And you call them out on it, and they'll say, oh well, yes, it's AI, but it's my lyrics, sort of thing. And it's like, well,
Right.
but it's not you singing, though, is it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've literally just put in literally command prompts what you want it to sound like.
Yeah.
You put
like saying I've written a book. I've told
Yeah.
ChatGPT what to do. It's like, you haven't, have you?
Yeah,
Do you know what I
you've
mean?
literally just put in a few command prompts, what lyrics or what certain words you want it to sound like, and bang,
Well,
there you go.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's
and
kind
then
of
you're
what you
uploading it to Spotify.
Yeah, I think it's more like what you use it for at the end of the day. Like, like I'm just looking at the wall behind you there, the Malevolence record that Eliran Kantor did the artwork for, the guy where he's like out under the water. Like, that's like a full painting that guy does and all that kind of stuff. And you think people will always need good artists like that. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, you see these bands that are doing AI artwork and stuff, and it's kind of, it is what it is. And if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. But like, yeah, I mean, it's just a bit lame.
It's a balancing act, because understand, if you are a brand spanking new band, and you've got no money to afford anything.
Well,
Do you know
that's
what I mean?
probably what it is. Yeah, that's probably it, mate. Yeah.
So
But
I
like,
can understand it at times.
yeah, yeah, like, but like, I don't know. I think it's funny though because I did some work with Basement Torture Killings. Do you know them? Like the grind band. I
Mhm.
worked with them, and they used AI to generate it was like a famous serial killer, like Ted Bundy or someone like that. Or it was something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
But like they recreated his voice for like a little sample thing. And it was really cool. And I was like, this is what AI should be used for. Do you know what I mean? Like that's actually really cool because obviously like Paulie was saying, well, I could just say it, but it just sound like me. Do you know? Like, so he said, well, like let's do it as if it's like one of the serial killers, for like the famous serial killers saying this thing. It was like, all right, okay, that's cool. So yeah, kind of what it was. But
Yeah, I hear
I
you.
think that's
But I wouldn't say
using
I'm
it for the
not
right
worried
things.
about AI.
Like I say, AI editing, somebody do it.
It's more of a just it's the people that use it that I don't know because you'll know yourself. The music scene itself is oversaturated as it is.
I mean, there's a
Um,
fair few bands out there, isn't
there was one, especially in the
there?
underground scene.
Yeah, mate.
So and then people are just coming in trying to make a quick buck, if you would say,
Mm.
sticking it on Spotify, and if it does well, do you know what I mean? Because when it generates over 1,000 players or something, that's when it starts
It's
generating.
so bad though, isn't it? It's just like, where's the
Yeah,
good bit? Where's the art? Where's the inspiration?
this
Do you know
this
what I
is
mean? Like,
exactly the key point that's annoying me when it comes to
yeah,
AI.
I want like the bands that I like are the ones where I'm like, oh, you can tell that like somebody's gone into a practice room and said, here, I've got this riff, and then they've played it and they've turned it into a song. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's a proper band, isn't it?
Mm,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, mate.
When you hear them little mistakes, do you mean that's when you like, yeah,
That's
that's
another
when
thing.
people
Yeah,
got
like
that.
yeah, sometimes they're cool. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Any emerging trends in the rock and metal scene, and how are you adopting them in Ritual Studios?
Ooh. Um, I don't know. I think more people. I think it's more like the awareness of what people are doing and stuff like that. So like people, there was like a time when every single vocalist that came in liked uh, Phil Bozeman from Whitechapel, and so they were trying to do like his thing, and then it kind
Mm.
of seemed like it became Matey Boy from Lorna Shore. What's he called? Curly Head Lad. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
you know who I
Will
mean.
Will Ramos.
Will Ramos, yeah. And then people were kind of like, oh, we're going to try to do the Will Ramos thing, yeah. And it's kind of like, it's like the trends like that, I suppose. And do you know what it is? Like, I have to try and keep on top of multiple genres and stuff like that and what's going on. And actually, sometimes I notice that, like, especially like in pop music as well, like, there's like, it was maybe about 10 years ago where every single pop song had this, like, du, da, du, da, du, da, du, da, du, that beat. And I was just like, it's fucking every song has that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and metal has it, to be fair. Like there's times when it, like, I mean, there was obviously that era where every single metal band would do like this is the verse and this is the chorus, and they'd sing the chorus bit, and you'd be like, oh, and you'd be waiting for it, wouldn't you? You'd be going, but they do a singing chorus. Yeah, they fucking have, right? You know what I mean? So I suppose things all come in trend, like in I suppose it's just part of like different genres, isn't it? It's like that's how it kind of
Generations sort of thing.
it is, mate. Yeah, and it's nice to see stuff come almost back around as well, isn't it? Like I think there's a bit of a re-emergence of the kind of the thrash kind of thing coming back, which is
Hmm.
cool. And yeah,
New
I'm all
metal sort of things
for
starting to
it.
make a
New
bit of a
metal, mate.
comeback.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I mean, some of the new metal records, by the way, back in the day were really good. Like
Fantastic one. I
yeah,
still
like
listen to that stuff.
people
So,
my age, because I'm like 37, and like
oh, you see, you're same age as me. I'm 38, so
yeah. So like I remember like some people's first record will have been like that Chocolate Starfish, Linkin Park
yes.
and all that, and bloody
Oh,
Limp
but
Bizkit
tagging.
and System of a Down Toxicity and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like that was when people our age were like getting into heavy music, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? So it'd be cool if stuff like that came back, to be honest. And
Wait, I
and
got
and
into
the
that sort
production
of stuff
stuff,
through
like
wrestling. It
did
was
you?
through wrestling that I
Yeah,
so it was
yeah.
like Limp Bizkit. That's how I discovered Limp Bizkit was through wrestling because
Was
it
it?
was the Undertaker's theme for a little bit.
Was it?
Uh,
Right. I
and
don't know much
My
about
Way was
wrestling, but
used.
yeah. Ah, there you go.
So yeah, that's how I got into it, sort of thing,
Yeah,
through the old wrestling days.
yeah.
So
My brother used to like it when it was like Hulk Hogan and all that.
nah,
He's 10
yes,
years
knew
older than
it.
me though, so yeah.
I'll only buy a year, mate.
Yeah, I know.
But it's a whole year at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you be able to give to any aspiring audio engineers looking to specialize in your field?
I kind of covered that, didn't I? Where I said I would just say, just get out and do it. Like, just
I
go
thought
and
well,
start.
it was more referencing towards bands, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So like, I would just say if you're into music production,
Mm.
just get out there and start doing it, I suppose. And like, and also try stuff out for yourself and don't
Mm.
take what you read online as gospel, because half the time people don't know what they're on about. Do you know what I mean? It's like you see
I mean, there'll be
some
tutorials and
stuff
stuff, of
like
course, on YouTube. You get a basic idea, but
you
you're
can,
gonna
yeah,
have.
and like, and do you know what? There's some really great stuff out there, but then also, yeah, there's a lot of kind of misinformation and stuff that won't really work for you, and people
Mhm.
seem to think that there's like one solution to certain things. And it's like it's not right at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll just say start getting into it and just start recording as much as you can, and getting like, yeah, and also just go and talk to people and talk to bands and stuff as well. Like that's another big part of it, like meeting the bands and yeah,
Yeah.
being involved in the scenes of also like a part of it, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't agree more. And network as well, of course.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Collaborate with other studios if that's a thing. Do these things happen sometimes?
Yeah, of
And
course. Yeah, of
yeah,
course. Yeah. hmm But
even better.
yeah, like.
Much just like being in a band, just collaborations with other studios, etc.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And for yourself, what are your future goals for Ritual Studios and your own personal career?
Ugh, God. So do you know what? Every year on my phone, I write down a list of bands I'd like to work with,
Mm.
just as like in the back of my own mind. And I was like, I wonder if there's like So I always do that. But you know, like I don't really. I'm terrible for that. You know, like in terms of being like, I feel like I'm quite a good business person, but I'm also like not. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I feel like my skill is in like the music production side of it and all that kind of stuff. Um, but I mean, obviously, there's like dream bands that are like, you know, like you'd like to work with, and then there's kind of, yeah, you know, ones where you think, oh,
Who
that's
would
probably
be
a
your
bit more
dream
like,
band to work with?
what, if I gotta pick anybody?
Anyone, past, present. If you
Probably
could pick
Metallica.
any
If I could
Metallica,
pick it, yeah, but like it's probably like like, I mean, who wouldn't, right? Like, yeah, you're sort of late '80s Metallica. Let's say that. Like
mm.
that'd be the best, wouldn't it? Plus, I could probably retire if I did
Not saying
that.
anger Metallica.
Well, you never, yeah, exactly, yeah. Like go back in time and delete that. Um, yeah, that was Lars's dad, wasn't
Fix it.
it?
Go
Fix it,
back and
yeah,
fix it.
yeah, right. Just swap his snare out in the middle of the night when nobody's looking. Um, but yeah, like obviously, like yeah, God, oh my, fuck, to be honest, there's probably a list of about 20 bands that I would think I would love to work with. But yeah, there's like, especially like past ones as well. Like, do you know what I always think? I would love to do the next Necrophagist record if they ever got their shit together, and because that's the legendary one, isn't it? That like everyone thinks it's apparently written, but like it's like yeah.
I think people just put that out for clicks. Do you
Yeah,
know what I
and you
mean?
watch
I think it
there's a
must be.
documentary on some guy who goes to try and find him, and he goes to like,
Oh, really?
Mohammed, the guitar player who like wrote all the stuff. Apparently, he was working at like an Audi dealership or something. As the guy like walks into the Audi dealership and he's like, "Can I speak to Mohammed, please, from Necrophagist?" And the woman on the front desk's like, "No."
No. Probably
It's
thinking at first, who?
Yeah,
Who are you
well,
talking
no.
about?
That documentary's class, by the way. If you want to if you go and find that, it's wicked.
I'll have to give that a watch sometime.
Yeah,
Sounds like an interesting.
yeah. It's not as good as A Year and a Half of Life, but Life of Metallica, though. That is the best thing ever, right? Right, like
Definitely.
it's like honestly, I think I put that on once every like 6 months and just sit there like this is just the best. It's class. I love it.
Truth.
But yeah, so probably Metallica, but no, I think in terms of like goals and stuff like that, just keep. I think I'm on the right path and stuff like that in terms of doing the right thing. Um, and I think it's more the thing of I just like I would just love like a fucking huge band, either like a band who I've worked with to become huge. I think that would be amazing, or like to work with, like you say, like a headline, like a Download or Bloodstock kind of headliner kind of thing that can
Well, Torture Demon's already
like
been on the Sophie stage.
Yeah,
The next,
you've done the Sophie. Yeah.
The next,
I think more like
I think
Machine Head and Septic Flesh. Do you know what I mean? Like the Behemoth, those kind of bands. Like yeah.
But like you said, you touched on that earlier on. The way their careers are going, if they can continue on that trajectory, they'll definitely be on main stage before long.
Yeah. Well, I think I said it to him at the time, but Joe, the guy who drums for Torture Demon, like I can see him. Whether it's with Torture Demon and Torture Demon stays a thing, I imagine they'll stay together for a long time because they're a really close knit group. But I feel like Joe might end up like drumming for a really, really fucking big band at one point in his life.
What do you think?
Yeah, like Matt Alston did for Machine Head, because he was just obviously like kind of like killer drummer in kind of more like UK based bands and stuff like that, and then obviously got that call, didn't he? But yeah, so I think that guy could end up doing really well. But yeah, if he ever listens to this, he'd be like, "Oh my God, the pressure!"
No, don't put pressure on them.
No, exactly. Yeah, they're only young lads, aren't they?
They are, but like I say, I can see them going places. To be fair, because they are a really good band. They played Newcastle at the Clooney here. Sadly, I didn't get to go and see it.
I was there, yeah.
Oh, you were at that show, were you?
I like that. Do you know? I like that venue. But the thing is, I drove up. So I paid £6 for a Guinness Zero, and I thought I've been robbed here. But I like that venue though because I can sit at the little seats at the back, little padded bit. I like it there, so because I'm getting old. So
that was Clooney 2, then, was it?
Clooney 2, yeah, it was in that, the one with the little balcony bit, yeah. It was in there. It's a canny little room, to be fair. I like it in there. I mean, you get 100 people in that room. It looks rammed, doesn't it?
Does. And like you say, you've kind of got like it's like the auditorium sort of like style seats at the back, don't you? And then you've got the ground bit as well. So you got to wherever you. Yeah, pretty much the same, mate. I'm too old for getting into the mosh pit these days.
Yeah.
I look at them and I'm just tired watching. I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Court O'Sire there, absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah, they're killer. Yeah. So I used to be in a band with Chris, the guitarist from O'Sire.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Chris Keeping plays in O'Sire. That's right. I was thinking.
Is he the one that also went to DEFCON 1 for a little bit?
Don't think so.
No, I don't know. I'm keeping tabs on it. It's hard these days. Yeah, I remember one of them was.
I remember them. Christ, goes back, doesn't it?
It certainly does. They kind of made a bit of a resurgence back in, I want to say 2021, I think.
All right, yeah.
I think released 2 songs and then disappeared again.
Well, it happens, doesn't it?
Aye, never mind. Never mind.
Right.
Right. Well, it's time for what 5 random questions for you. Oh, God. And of course, you'll already be aware of one of them.
Going to be a Greg's one, is it?
It is. What is your Greg's order, mate?
So you're going with a Greg's one, right? Okay. So, I like the cheese and onion pasties. I can eat, and then, I mean, you can't go wrong with 4 sausage rolls, can you? On the deal.
Oh, tasty, mate.
Yeah.
What yums though?
You see, I'm not a big dessert fan, So if I ever buy the donuts, I just have to get the original glazed just for my son because that's the only thing he likes. That's the only thing he eats. So yeah, so I'll sometimes get them, but no, like more of a savoury me, mate.
It's fair enough.
They do the tandoori baguettes as well. They're canny. I quite like them.
I don't think I've tried them. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's all about the hot bit though. The bit that
shows how hardcore some of these bands are. Because
anything that looks like it's going to give you a heart attack. That's what.
I've interviewed quite a few bands, and I interviewed Kill All the Gentlemen the other week. And,
they're thrash band, aren't they? They're good.
Their vocalist has got the app I was like, I've interviewed so many bands, and you're the first person who's got the app.
Do you know what? Like I take my son swimming, and pretty much every time after we've been swimming, we'll go via the Greggs, and yeah, I used to think if I had the app now, I'd have had so much free shit. Like, but yeah, so that's
So, what's been the most ridiculous band request you've ever received, and did you actually try and make it happen?
in terms of what.
I just out of
I had
just
a
could be random.
I had so this is a hilarious one that I always sticks in my mind. I had a drag act called Testicle, who I think is from Darlington.
Right.
It's this guy, and he does like a drag act thing, and he asked me about recording some songs. That was years ago, but it always sticks in my mind. Yeah, good old Testicle. And I remember there was one guy once who said he wanted to come and he was like, oh, I wanted to come and do some songs at the studio, and he was basically describing that he wanted me to write all the songs. So I was like, right, okay. And I was thinking, right, okay, like obviously that's like I want paying for the time for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not going to be a cheap thing if you wanted me to write all these songs. And then he went, yeah, I think just two songs, a bit in the style of Hey Ya by Outkast. I was like,
Yes.
he wants me. I was like, what, in the style of? And he was like, no, two songs as good as that. And I was thinking, fucking hell, mate, that was like, I'm sure that's got like 500 million views on YouTube and God knows how many streams. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, I'll just knock two of them out, mate. Like, I was thinking, if I was doing that, I wouldn't be involving him. Do you know what I mean? I was like, hey God. But honestly, like, nothing shocks you though, mate. Like some of the emails that you get, you go, oh Christ. Yeah, so.
Now, I don't expect you to name any bands with these, of course, but any embarrassing stories while in the studio with these bands?
Embarrassing.
Mishaps, some gun.
No, I mean sometimes people are sick and stuff. Like when we did the last, I tracked the drums for the last Shrapnel record, and Chris had food poisoning like the entire time. He stayed at a hotel near where I live, and he had some veggie burger or something on the first day. It must have been off, and then because that's all he'd eaten, that's all he'd had, and then the next day he was like, I feel terrible, and he started playing, and then all of a sudden he just, because I've got like a screen where I can see the live room downstairs, I just see him fucking leg it out of the studio, just all over the car park. I was like, oh, are you all right, mate? And I had to drive him home, and he basically went to bed for a day. We just lost a full day, and we were thinking, this isn't gonna get done here and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so Chris throwing up was a pretty bad one. But like, no, I don't know about embarrassing. Like, no, like nobody's like pooed himself or anything like that.
No technical mishaps, no happy accidents.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I like the sound of that. How did I do that?
Yeah. But no, nothing like that. No.
No, nothing. No, that's fair enough. Where I've lost my arm now.
Was it people pooing themselves?
No, it's probably what. What's been the most elaborate excuse a band has given for showing up late? And did you believe it?
Do you know what? Most bands are on time. Most of them
Really?
aren't too bad. Yeah.
No one's, I was late. My dog ate me fucking manuscript paper.
Oh God! Do you know what? If I thought long enough, there might be. I always remember my friend's band. This wasn't anything to do with the studio. One of my friend's bands. Their drummer clearly didn't want to be in the band. I think they were like a punk band, and he didn't want to be in the band. And they rang him. They were at practice, and they were like, "Where is he?" And they rang him, and they said, "Are you coming to practice?" And he said, "No, because I've just ordered a pizza." And they were like, "Why don't you just tell them to come deliver it to the practice room and stuff like that?" And they were like, "Yeah, he quit the band soon after that." I was like, "Why didn't he just say?" He clearly just didn't want to be in the band. Do you know what I mean?
I've ordered a pizza.
I can't. And I think one of the other excuses he used was, "Oh, I can't because I'm watching the Champions League." It's like, he just didn't want to do it, does he?
I'm getting that feeling just off the first one.
That was just one of my friend's bands. I always sticks in my head. That wasn't anything like studio related, but
well, that kind of gives me a good segue into the next one then. So, what's your thoughts on the use of pineapple on pizza?
I don't mind it, you know. It's all right.
Oh, right, that's it. Cancelled.
Are you not a fan?
No,
Do you know,
doesn't
like,
belong on.
do
Doesn't
you know
belong
that
on.
it really fucking divides people, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Oh.
It really.
It really does. Do you like
I'm sure people.
do you like anchovies, the salty things? You're not a big fan of them? Oh, I love them. I think
I'm not. No.
I'd take anchovies over pineapple any day.
Well, but I can probably get away with more of that because there's a seafood type style pizza, but
Yeah.
nah, I can't
Nah,
get away with a
not a
fruit
pineapple.
on a no.
Do you know what? The one I can't stand? Egg. You go to Italy sometimes, they crack an egg
What?
in the middle of your pizza. You know that?
No.
No, it happens.
What are you doing, Italians?
It's like if somebody just fucking dropped an egg on my. I reckon that must have been like, you know, we're talking about happy accidents. That must have been what that was.
That must have been, yeah.
Some chef's been knocking an omelette up or something. He's, oh, where's my egg? And some waitress has just took the pizza out. Do you know what I mean? I think that's.
I thought someone put an egg in the middle of my pizza. It was good, that.
Mm-hmm. You have to look it up, mate.
Breakfast pizza. Ooh, hey,
Yeah, that's probably not a bad shout. Yeah.
Could be honest with that, mate.
Yeah.
Could be honest with me.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, mate. Well, I appreciate your time.
It's been good for you.
Yeah, it's been very insightful because, like I say, I've normally just interview bands. You are the first person outside of like a band style. So it's been very insightful on how recording and how a studio works.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate your time. Is there anything that you wish to plug before we call it a day?
Not really, other than if you want to work with me, you can check out ritualstudios.co.uk and everything's on there. You can contact me on there. There's or if you just put Ritual Sound, Ritual Studios into a search engine or a Facebook or anything like that, or you can find me just if you just stick Samuel Turbot in, you'll be able to find what you need to find. And yeah, if you want to work with me, just email me or drop me a message on social media and we can work that out. But
And what sort of social media platforms are you on?
Instagram, Facebook, and like I said, then the website, and that's it.
That's fair enough. No worries. All links, of course, will be in the description of YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you can get your hands on a podcast. So I'm going to leave you with our Get Heavy UK creed, which is the rules of the pit are the rules for life. When someone falls, we pick them up. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, mate.
All right, it's been good fun.